had lunch now. Good. But again, Alexander, muffins, plural. So muffins are made of. Something to think about. Cookies are made of. Muffins are made of. Sugar is made of. Tea is made of. Lovely. Okay, great. So I want you to be thinking about this whole thing, which is made of small parts, as we talked about yesterday. And then we can see it as a pie, which is made. Now, when we're talking about graphic pies, not food pies, we need up. So I noticed, Alison, you put it's made up of. I think that's okay. Normally for food, we don't need up. It's made of. That's okay. But when you're talking about these graphs and charts, you use up. Okay. So I think just memorize that is the easiest way. So a pie is made up of 3 different parts, like this example, like you get in the writing. Okay, so what can we say about that pie? Well, more formal word is comprised of. Just an option. But not is consisted of. We talked about that yesterday. You have to say a pie consists of. And to be honest, I think just learn those 2, is made of or consists of. Another thing to be honest about, you actually don't need to use this much, because what you're talking about is you're just talking about the small things inside the pie, the percentages. So actually, you don't need to use this very much. Okay. Right. So what we talked about yesterday is how confusing this is, because most of the time you use passive, but you can also use consists of. So I want to practice that. Both are exactly the same meaning, just passive and active, same meaning. So what I'd like you to tell me is, what does your day consist of these days? So think about the times when you're awake, the waking day, and what does it consist of? And just for fun, give me some percentages. So mine consists of mostly sitting at the computer, eating quite a lot, and possibly 10% going for a walk. So we're reviewing also the ing. So could you please, I can see some more comments, still not clear, Saika. Saika, were you here yesterday? Okay, Hatem, couscous, yes, but what's it made of, Hatem? Made of wheat, I guess. Undia, vegetarian, made of vegetables and in an earthen pot. Lovely. Okay, Saikat, I think for you, let's forget, just learn that. Just learn that, that's it. Learn one and stick to it. Don't use anything else. Just say is made up of. Okay, now, hi Dinara. If you want to use consists of, you can, but don't use is consisted of. That's all. So let's practice consists of. Dinara, hello. We're looking at what your day consists of. Saika, that's okay. Lovely. Hello, Mahti. Lovely. So can you give me a few examples about your day and what does it consist of? You could say my day is made up of. It's fine, but let's practice the other one. So give me a few ing verbs. Working, cleaning, cooking, and give me a funny percentage of your day. And then we'll practice consists of. So I'll give you a bit of time to think about it. I'll just wait to see what your day consists of. Maybe you have a different day. Maybe your day consists of, here we go, Kavita. Sleeping 50%, cooking and cleaning 30%, learning IELTS 20%. Lovely, great example. I know it's a lot to type, but just give me one or two. Hi, Faryaz Beck. Prakash, watching TV 30%. Yes. Yeah. There's nothing good on TV in the UK, so I don't watch it much. I watch YouTube videos, maybe 10%. Saurabh, sleeping, rejuvenating, 33%, learning, 50%, family time, lovely, good. Playing games, watching movies, spending time with my family, lovely, good. And you can notice the of followed by ing, or you can think of ing as a noun. Both is correct. Patalvi says, my day consists, oh yes, sorry, yes, lovely. Okay, so we've talked about the whole thing. And either, as we said, you can either use made up of or consists of. We've practiced both of them. Shivani, watching Netflix, cooking, and learning. Yes, so you don't need do there. You can just say watching Netflix, cooking, and learning. Intisha, studying, reading books, working, going for a stroll. Lovely vocabulary, Intisha. Good. Okay, so you've practiced both now, I hope. Saikat, I hope that's a little bit clearer after practicing. My day consists of watching YouTube videos, playing games, and doing activities, daily activities. Janina, eating 50%, spending time with my family 50%. Great. Okay, you're using those both fine. So you could say a pie or my day. Both of those are okay. Okay. Now, what happens when learning IELTS 70%, Dinara? I was wondering who was going to spend the most time learning IELTS. Cooking and cleaning, family time. Lovely. Cooking and cleaning, learning English, Saikat, playing, eating, going for a walk, 10%. Me too. Lovely. Okay, great. I think that's really clear now. I hope that's really clear when you're talking about the one big thing. Now, what about if you want to talk about this piece of the pie? You want to talk about this 10% or the 40% or the 50%, and you want to talk about each individual thing. Working 30% and spending time. Yes, lovely, Alison, thank you. Pie chart is in the past. Right, we're doing that. We'll do that next. Yes, you can, because of is followed by ing always. So yes, you could say it consisted of. Absolutely. So when you're talking about the virus period, when it's past and finished and you're telling your grandchildren about it, you could say my whole day consisted of sitting at the computer, eating, and going for a walk. Good point, actually. Yes. Lovely. Lovely. Still lots of lovely examples. Please read them because they're helping everybody then. Well done. So Marianella consists of caring for my baby. So lovely. So ing, caring for. Saikat, great. And hello, Rika. Lovely. Okay, so now we're moving on to think about the pieces when you want to describe the individual pieces of the pie, not the whole pie, the individual pieces. And this is where it gets tricky, or not. Now, we talked about the pie, the cherry pie or apple pie. We said it's made up of three parts, three different parts. Oops, let's just go back. Okay, so it's made up of sugar, cherries, and pastry. Now, if somebody asked you, well, how much sugar is in the pie. You could say, well, 25% of the pie is sugar. And that's it. Simple. Keep it simple. 25% of the pie is sugar. That's your band 5. That's it. Now you want to go something better. You want to use a verb. So sugar, we had it in the passive. The pie is made of sugar. But now we're doing the opposite. Sugar makes the pie. So sugar makes up 25% of the pie. Now this is where it gets difficult. And this is where you have these alternative words. And you can use all of them. Can you remember what they were? There was the M-A-R-C. So M is makes up. A is accounts for. And let's see if you can remember the other two while I look at your... Esmeralda, thank you. Thank you. Yes. So, Patialva, yes. Perfect. Yesterday, my whole day consisted of learning lessons. Yes. It's perfect. Yes. Angela, just be careful about is consist of. Just keep the simple consists of. You don't need is. That's the problem. Don't need is. But the rest is good, Angela. Lovely. Okay. Now, Esmeralda, thank you, Intisha. That's great. Let's do that first then. Okay. So when you're talking about the small pieces, we said you could use mark as a word. It stands for M-A-R-C. So M is for makes up. A is for accounts for. Intisha saying R is for represents, yes. And C is constitutes. And you can use all of those or choose one that you feel comfortable with. Okay, now let me show you somebody, Kavita. Kavita, you've chosen consist of. And it's not on my list. Why not? Because consist of you can't use for the small pieces. You can only use consist of for the whole thing. And that's what the problem is. Yeah, it's consist is the problem. So if you can only remember one thing, consist is the whole thing, and you talk about small things. But when you're talking about the individual things, you can only use these words. Stick to those 4 words. Okay, so it's constitutes, not consists. And I'll come back to you. So Janina constitutes, yes. Shivam, no, it's not consists. That's the problem. Saurabh, it's not consists. It's constitutes. Yes, okay. So even if we've just learned one thing, try to remember consists cannot be used for both. Can't be used for the pie and the whole thing. So, occupy came up yesterday and I said no, because I thought about it later. Why? It's used for space and time. So you could say it to talk about your time at home. You could say cooking constitutes most of my day. Yes, occupies, sorry, most of my day for time and for space. So you could say this table occupies most of the room, or as you said, cooking occupies most of my time. Yes, but not generally for pie charts. So I would say be careful of occupy. Now, let's look at some of your examples. I'm going to choose a simple one first. Yes, CICAT. Sugar accounts for 25% of the pie. Yes. So, CICAT, sugar constitute 25% of the pie. Yes. Hi, Angela. Alzada, cooking makes up 20% of my day. Yes. Eating, Kavita, accounts for 30% of my day. Yes, correct. Prachi, going for a walk accounts for a negligible amount of my day. Yes, fine. Okay, right. So I've put the line through here, consists of, is the problem. And if you're just aware of that and you're starting to think about it, then great. It's gone very dark here. Right, then great. Okay, so let's practice again. Could you please look at this very typical thing about expenditure? Last year, so immediately alarm bells go. Immediately you need to think about past tense. Okay, so I just want you to look at that for a minute and I'm going to answer some questions. Patalvi, can you describe pie chart, how to use all sentences in the past? Yeah, we're doing that next. That's coming. That's coming. And CICAT, sugar represents because it's uncountable, 25% of the pie. Good. Sleeping, Rika, constitutes 20% of my whole day. Perfect. Now, Shivam, training constitutes 30% of total expenditure of the two companies. Yes, that's a great example. I think that was from yesterday. That was from yesterday, but it's a perfect example, Shivam. Depends on the time. If it's present, it's fine. Yes. Okay. So, who asked me? Patti Alvi. I'm hoping you're already writing some sentences down for this. I made it simple. Teacher salaries, 40%, other salaries. So you could say salaries, 40 plus 30, 40, 50, 70%. And then resources and equipment. I don't mind. But just remember it's past tense. Okay, so I hope you're typing and I'm going to show you a few things. Okay, if you want to keep it simple and get correct Band 5 accurate grammar, you could say this. Teachers' salaries were 40%. It's okay. It's past tense. The meaning is clear. It's plural, salaries, so not was, but were. And that is a very simple way of describing percentage in the past tense. Okay. Okay, I'll wrap on. It is for academic, but remember you're talking about you're learning general English rules. So you're talking about past simple, plural, countable, uncountable, passive, active. So for general English, you might need to describe food that is something that is made in your country. So the grammar is for everybody. The task is for academic task 1, so you don't need to worry about it. Yes. Okay, I can see Hina, no. In general training, no, you don't get them. But keep watching because it's grammar. Okay, you're all giving me right answers. So I'm going to come back to them and show everybody your correct answers. Great. Okay, so Band 6 is simply they spent. Active verb, so all you general training people, you could be writing a letter to your boss and you might be talking about how much money you spent last year in your company. So this is important. Spent, past tense, and the preposition on. It's active, it's correct, it's past tense, it's fine. But I want something better than that. And something better than that could be passive. So think about they spent. How do you turn that into the passive? Thanks, Hina. So this, for example, Hina, is general English. Is how do you say they spent? How do you turn it into the passive form? Does anybody want to type that for me? I know it's difficult to type quickly. I'll wait. Okay. Okay, so you could say 40% of the budget was spent on salaries. So notice 40% singular was spent, or active, they spent 40%. Both good, both high, both complex. Yeah, again, so you can see the choices you have. So before I show your band 7.5 answers, which you've put here, so Intisha, you're absolutely correct. Lovely. An immediate band 7 for you. Now then, look at our options for 7.5. Starting with the salaries, starting with the piece first, and then ending with the percentage. So salaries made up, following our MARC, accounted for, represented, constituted. So those now are more varied, more complex, and as we've seen, more difficult. But if you stick to those 4, past tense, you can't go wrong. Okay, so I'm going to go back and look at all of your correct answers, and I'm going to show them so we can compare. Okay, so let's take a simple one first. Izada said teacher salary made up 50%. Perfect, Izada. Grammar's perfect. Don't worry about percentage numbers. 50, 40, doesn't matter today. Izada, that's perfect. Prachi, teacher salary accounted for, perfect. Teacher salary is accounted for, and then the majority of the expenditure. Perfect, but say the majority of, but very good. Okay, Rika saying salary accounted for, perfect, Rika. Just remember it's plural because there's 2 salaries, but you've got the correct accounted for, 70% of the whole. Lovely. Oh, I've got lots of comments and they're all correct. Saurabh, resources made up of. Now, Saurabh, the whole was made up of, but we're looking at the part. So Saurabh, look again at the examples there. Alexander, teacher salaries accounted for 40% of the whole. Perfect. Whose did I miss? Saurabh, teachers honorarium, okay, constituted, yes. Saurabh, there you're right, correct. Beatrice, hello Beatrice. Teachers' salaries accounted for the biggest proportion of the school's budget, and then you've got the ing linking word, Beatrice, perfect. And that's a lovely example of how you use the ing to expand, develop, add extra information. That's a perfect example. Lovely. Dinara, I forgot to show that. That was perfect as well. I'm just going through your new comments. Tell me if I've missed you. Please shout. Saurabh, you're going to look at that again. Alexander, yes. Expenditure was 40%. Beatrice was spent. Beatrice, good, but notice the preposition. Spent on. Not for, not of, not in. only on. Kavita, teachers' wages constituted, yes, teachers' wages constituted 70% of the pie, which was lovely expansion there, Kavita, perfect. Janina, teachers' salaries. Janina, can you see any were here? There's no were. Were is passive. Passive is here, but not here. So Janina, come back to me with another try if you want to. Intishar, 40% of the budget was spent. Correct. Lovely. 40%. Yes. Passive. Lovely. Company managed constituted 40%. Yes. Constituted 40%. 1 in 4 was spent on salaries. Shivam, I possibly would say 1 in 4. I probably would say only a quarter of the budget was spent on salaries, on other salaries. I wouldn't say 1 in 4 proportion. Hatem, relative clause, yes, yes. So, for example, who used relative clause? Beatrice did. No, who did the relative clause? I can't see it now. But yes, you can. Here, Kavita. Hatem, look at Kavita's. Teachers' wages constituted 70% of the pie, comma, maybe, which was the largest proportion. Yes, so that's a relative clause. Good. Okay, is this true about if they don't have data about, yeah, we need to use present tense? And yes, yes, because that means it's always true. Yes. So go back to yesterday's video, and that was about just comparing 2 companies. Yes. Intishar, resources and equipment accounted for. Perfect. Prachi, teacher's salary accounted for the majority of. Yes, but the majority of. With half of. Yes, yes, but the majority of. And Janina, teacher's salary constituted 40% of the budget. Okay, I think you've all got it now. Angela, something, school expenditure was spent a quarter on. Angela, you'd need to put that, look at the band 7, put it this order. If you put in the number first, a quarter of the school budget was spent on equipment. So look at this one if you want to put the number first. Number first, a quarter of the budget was spent on the thing. If you've put in the thing first, the thing made up a quarter of the budget. Yeah, so it's a lot about order. Psychat, equipment made up of. Can you see up of here, Psychat? There's no of. That's the danger. Alzada, 30% of the budget was spent on resources. Yes, fine. So you're following this pattern. Yes. Hello, Cole. Great. Okay, I think that's everybody's examples that we've looked at. So my next activity to finish was this. I've just taken what we've just done and put it into a gap. So I wonder, you can type or you don't have to type if you don't want to. Can you remember what the simplest way of describing this salary is? The simplest, basic, correct way. And I'll come back. Psychat, company salaries constituted 40%. Correct. Rika, yes, made up and made up of. That's it, Rika. Made up is for the part and made up of is for the pie. Correct. Lovely. So were. Now, Janina, the problem is that the teacher's salary didn't spend 40%. The teacher's salaries were 40%, were. Great, made up, yes, were Patalvi, were Hina. Okay, that is correct. It's were. So what's the next one? We go up to band 6. Now this time it's the government. They is the government. They have control of the budget. So what did they do? What did they do with this budget? So looking at the band 6 there, were Rika, yes. Okay, Patalvi saying spent and on. Beatrice and on. Lovely. So you've got the band 6, past simple, they spent, active, 40% on salaries. Lovely. All got that. Good. So you're already band 6. Let's go up to band 7. Alexander, yeah. Alexander's there. Spent on, spent on. Keep saying spent on, spent on, spent on, because it's a common mistake. Were, yes, for the first one, and spent on. Lovely. Okay. Now, I'm looking at the band 7. Notice there are 2 lines here. 2 lines. So, the answers are coming up. I'm going to look at allocated, Angela, for band 6. Just for band 6, they allocated 40% of the budget to. So allocated to, but it's possible, Angela, yes. Okay, now we're looking at band 7, and you've all gone with the passive tense, and you've used singular was spent because it's the budget is singular, was spent. That's it. Okay, so we're starting with the number, then you'd say was spent. Now, some of you are doing this one, the band 7.5. So check what you've written and compare with what I've got here. You've got, sorry, there's lots of different answers coming in that I'm not sure which one they're referring to. So can we all just look at 7.5 for a minute? And you don't need to write it this time. Just tell yourself, okay, there's no was here. There's no of here. So that's it, Janina. Made up, past tense, accounted for, represented, or constituted. Yes, depends on the tense. Yes. So you've got the past tenses there, Saurabh. Lovely. Great. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to show you the answers because I forgot to do it like that. Yes. So keep testing yourself. Keep testing yourself, and I use colors to help me remember things, but you find your own way of remembering percentage was spent. The thing, then the percentage. Find your own way of doing that. You're all looking good. I'm showing them just because you're all correct. Okay, good. So finally, you can go back to the video and test yourself with these. Now, somebody gave me a nice band 8. Okay, great question. Band 8 means everything else included is correct. So we're just looking at one small part of the test, aren't we? We're just looking at describing percentages correctly. For a band 8, you'd need to have everything else wonderful. So the organization, the linking words, the ing, the flow, maybe there's 2 pie charts. So maybe you're comparing 2 school expenditures. That's a lot of other information that you have to get right. Yeah. Okay, but a good question. Okay, so what I've tried to cover today is the difference between when you're talking about just the parts and when you're talking about the whole pie. And again, you've got simple ways of talking about the whole pie. You could say simply the budget had 4 items, or that's band 5. Band 6, there were 4 items, because there were is higher level. Band 7 was made up of and consisted of. But you can see the difference between made up and made up of. And those, that's just grammar. There's no reason for it. Try and go with the memorable thing. If it's a pie, then it's made of. And salaries, made up. Yeah. Okay, I think that is it. So if you missed yesterday's video, this is what we started talking about. We talked about this really difficult problem of consist. So do go back and look at yesterday's video. And so when you asked me about the band 8 there, Al-Rapan, so, you know, very often you've got very complicated pie charts, and you will have to compare. And so, for example, Microsoft, the salaries, 30% of the budget was spent on employee salaries, whereas Apple, blah, blah, blah. So you're comparing, and that's another whole, we could do a lesson on that. I think I have one. Okay, so yeah, that's what we did yesterday. And we looked at, Beatrice, you gave us an example of using the ing form and allocated and accounted for, but it still comes back to what level do you want? Do you want to keep it simple and then just think about present or past? Do you want to go to band 6, thinking about active and passive? And then do you want to use band 7, talking about that constitute, represent, account for? And that's where it gets more complicated. Okay, I'm going to stop there.